I needed a couple days off to deal with some behind the camera issues, but we are back and better than ever, and we're going to talk about winners and losers from week 2. Before we get started, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you are new here as we're on the road to 100k, and be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. And now let's immediately jump into the video. Our first winner from week 2 is Oregon. Going into this game, many people thought the Ducks didn't have a chance, and with Ohio State being at home, I honestly did not think they would either. I did allude in a previous video that Ohio State needed to figure out their defense, and I guess I was right on that one. Anthony Brown played calm and cool at quarterback, CJ Verdell had arguably his best game of his career, and the defense stepped up without Thibodeau and Flo. While they almost blew the game, Oregon did enough to win, and now they have a marquee win for both the Pac-12 and for Cristobal, and I believe Oregon is now a legitimate playoff contender. They have proved a lot of people wrong, and with a win like this on your resume, they can afford to lose a game and still potentially get in. With that, we get to our first loser, which is Ohio State. Going into this game, many people thought the Buckeyes would win, and that they would figure out all those defensive problems. Offense has not been an issue, as Mayan Williams has played great at running back, CJ Stroud has been spectacular at quarterback, and the big three of Jackson Smith and Jigba, Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave have played exactly how we all expected them to. It's unfortunately been the defense, and the run defense was not spectacular in this game. Ohio State lost this game at home, and this now puts them behind the 8 ball for the college football playoff. They can easily win their next 11 games and clinch a spot, but right now it looks like there's going to be some problems, and Ohio State's got to figure it out, and they are definitely a loser from this past weekend. Our second winner is Arkansas football. While many thought that the Razorbacks had a chance to upset Texas at home, I don't think anyone expected what we saw this past Saturday. Arkansas controlled this game from start to finish and blew out the Longhorns. In what some are calling a welcome gift from the SEC to the Longhorns, KJ Jefferson and this Razorback offense just ran all over this Texas team, and Hudson Card didn't play very well. And for Arkansas, they are now ranked, they are surging under Sam Pittman, and many are wondering just how good this Razorbacks team can be. Our second loser is Iowa State football. With Breece Hall, Brock Purdy, and this experienced defense and wide receiver group, everyone thought that Iowa State was going to have a big year and that they were legitimate playoff contenders. Well, unless something crazy happens, it's likely not going to be the case. Purdy has not played well so far this year, as he threw 3 picks against Iowa this past weekend. Breece Hall does not look like himself, and something is just off with this Iowa State team. They couldn't get anything going on offense, and that showed in week 1 against Northern Iowa, but many people thought it was just a fluke. Iowa football is legitimate, but this was Iowa State's best team in school history, and for them to not play that well against Iowa at home is very concerning, and I really wonder what Iowa State's going to do this year. Our third winner is Kentucky football. I was at the Mizzou-Kentucky game this past weekend, and I just want to say they have an incredible home atmosphere. With Will Levis at quarterback, things have been a little bit better, and he brings a new dynamic element to this team. Wan'Dale Robinson is spectacular at wide receiver, but the main guy we need to talk about is Chris Rodriguez. He had 4 touchdowns in this game, and Kentucky's offense was surging. To be fair, Missouri has the worst run defense in the Power 5 in college football, but Rodriguez played well, the offense looks like a lot of fun, and with Kentucky's schedule, they're a major winner. Besides a road game against Georgia, I think every game on their schedule is potentially winnable or they have a shot in, and this is kind of feeling like 2018 all over again for the Wildcats, and in what was going to be one of their tougher games against Missouri, they showed out and won. Our third loser is the Texas Longhorns. There was a lot of hype with Steve Sarkisian and Hudson Card at quarterback spot, but they laid an egg this weekend in Fayetteville. After beating a good Louisiana team in week 1, many expected them to carry on the momentum, and this top 15 team was supposed to play well. Well, they did not, as the offense couldn't get going, Hudson Card struggled, and the defense could not stop Arkansas's running game. This right now has put a halt to all the momentum Texas football had, has shown Steve Sarkisian and the staff that they are a long ways away, and they just kind of embarrassed themselves in this game. Our fourth winner is Iowa football. You could argue no team has better wins this year than Iowa. They stomped a ranked Indiana team in week 1 and beat their top 10 arch rival in a hostile environment in week 2. Spencer Petras is definitely a game manager, but this defense is elite and they just do what it takes to win, and they're coached well. Their next big game comes in a few weeks against Penn State, but right now Iowa honestly looks unbeatable. They're the most underrated team in college football, and could this be the best team in school history? We'll have to wait and see. So my fourth loser in this game is Phil Jurkovec in Boston College. You'd be asking, why is this a loss? Well, Jurkovec is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and in my prediction, he was going to be the next Zach Wilson or Mac Jones, as I was super high on this kid. Well, he had a good start to 2021, but he suffered a hand injury, and as we found out on Monday morning, he's likely going to be done for the year. Not only is this a big loss for Jurkovec himself, but this changes the outlook of the Boston College football team. Instead of potentially winning 7 to 9 games, I'm now very concerned about that quarterback spot, and I have no idea what kind of season this is going to turn into. My fifth winner is Zerrick Cooper. Coming out of high school, he was a big-time quarterback recruit. He took his talents to Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers, but never got a chance to see the field. A lot of times, players like that are completely forgotten about and never heard from again. Well, Zerrick Cooper put his name into college football history books and people's memories forever with his win this past weekend. He ended up transferring to Jacksonville State, and in case you somehow didn't see it this past weekend, he threw a game-winning Hail Mary-like play as the Gamecocks went on the road and beat Florida State for their worst loss in school history. Zerrick Cooper is now a name who will be put in the history books forever, and despite never getting his fair shot at Clemson or the FBS level, he saved his career and had one of the best moments any college football player can ever have. Our fifth loser is another injury, and that's Haynes King. It looks like he's going to miss a couple of weeks, and not only are we going to talk about King, but also Texas A&M football. They won 10-7 against Colorado, and while you could argue it should have been 17-7 because of that Zach Calzada end zone fumble, A&M did not look good. They have plenty of offensive weapons, a ton of experience, and a ton of hype, and there's no reason why Texas A&M should have gone in there and played like that. Whether it was Haynes King or Zach Calzada at the quarterback spot, this was an embarrassing performance for Texas A&M, and you could argue both King and A&M are losers. King will be out a couple weeks because of an injury, and now A&M's got to figure out what the heck they're going to do because Zach Calzada did not look very good. Now that we are halfway through the video, please be sure to hit that like button, let me know what topic I could do next, and subscribe if you somehow have not already. My sixth winner is Brennan Armstrong. He's a quarterback for Virginia, and many people probably don't know about him. He's trying to put his name out on the map, but still, not many college football fans know him. He's top 5 and top 10 in almost every category for quarterbacks, has the Virginia Cavaliers rolling, and he is trying to become the best left-handed quarterback since Tua Tagovailoa. Virginia is a team to watch out for this year, and Armstrong has made one of the biggest improvements of any quarterback in the nation, and he is a big winner this past weekend. Our sixth loser is Florida State. The big question being asked after week 1 was, is Florida State good, or is Notre Dame that bad? Well, we found out our answer this past weekend as Notre Dame struggled tremendously at home against Toledo and should have lost that game, and if you replayed those final few minutes 10 times, I think Toledo wins 8 or 9 of them. It was absolutely ridiculous, but Florida State held up their end of the bargain and showed they were just as bad too. As I previously talked about in today's video, Zerrick Cooper, he was the quarterback for Jacksonville State, and he led that game-winning Hail Mary. That epitomized what was one of the worst nights in Florida State football history, as the team looked terrible in every single department. They played like they didn't care, and Mike Norvell may be in over his head. Is this a loss that'll be impossible to overcome? Only time will tell, but as of right now, Florida State is in deep trouble. Our seventh winner is Rutgers. They've put up a lot of points in the past few weeks, and they're 2-0 for the first time in a long time. They've received votes to be ranked, the offense is looking pretty good, and Greg Schiano has things running very smoothly in Piscataway. While I have no clue what their record will be, or how they will do when they play better competition, they beat Syracuse this past weekend, and that's a Power 5 school, and for how bad of a spot Rutgers was in over the last few years, right now they are a major winner, and hopefully they can make a bowl game this year. Our next loser is Notre Dame. Yeah, despite Jack Cohen making quarterback history for the Fighting Irish, they did not look that good against Florida State. They came home in week 2, and for pretty much the entirety of the game, they were losing to Toledo. Tyler Buckner came in and gave them a little bit of energy, but Toledo ran it in for 7 points late in the game, and many thought this game was over. Jack Cohen's finger got pushed sideways, but he had his coach put it back into place, where he threw an eventual game-winning touchdown. They barely survived against the Rockets, and right now they haven't looked good in their first 2 games, and things only get more difficult from here. They got to play Purdue on Saturday, and the Boilermakers have had a great offense so far this year, and this is a rivalry game, and if they play like they did against Toledo, they could lose this game. They also have Cincinnati, USC, North Carolina, and Virginia Tech in the next few weeks, and if the Fighting Irish aren't careful, this could be 2016 all over again. I'll admit, my expectations were not very high for Mississippi State this year. I thought Jack Abraham was going to be the quarterback, but no, it was Will Rogers. He took over at the end of last year, and I just did not really think that they were going to be that good this year. So far in their first 2 weeks, they made a miracle comeback against Louisiana Tech, and then had a game that I thought was going to be very difficult. NC State looked pretty good in week 1, but Mississippi State came to play and beat the Wolfpack 24-10. Mike Leach is trying to prove that the air raid will work in the SEC, and this team is desperately trying to make a bowl. When you take a look at Mississippi State's schedule, this game was a must-win. I think they are good enough to go on the road to beat Memphis, then they also have games against teams like Vanderbilt and Tennessee State. But outside of that, things are tough. They play LSU, who will be more talented than them, and Kentucky, who is surging right now, and then the other 5 games on the schedule are all against ranked teams. It's going to be a difficult year for Mississippi State, and they may not make a bowl game, but this was a massive win for them. Will Rogers is getting better by the week, and Mike Leach is trying to prove the air raid will work. Our next loser is the mighty USC Trojans. Just like they always do, they had a lot of hype going into 2021, and like Clay Helton has always done, he wastes premier talent. It's not a knock on Helton's character, but it's just how it is. USC won their first game against San Jose State, but this past weekend they got embarrassed by Stanford. In my opinion, this is the worst Stanford team in the last 10 years, and for them to go beat USC at home like that was just embarrassing for the Trojans, and they fired Clay Helton this week, so you could say technically they were a winner from this weekend, but in terms of their actual on-the-field performance, they were a loser. Our ninth winner is Stanford. Things have been falling off a little bit for David Shaw and the Cardinal, and Stanford is not the same team they were in the mid to late 2010s. Jack West and Tanner McKee both looked terrible in week 1 against Kansas State, and it looked like the rails were falling off for this once prestigious team. Well, in week 2, Tanner McKee played really well, the defense stepped up, and David Shaw just outcoached USC. This was a great game for Stanford start to finish. They beat their rival, they got their rival's head coach fired, and now Stanford's going to try to make a bowl game and save their season. I think we all knew that Arizona football was in bad shape. Kevin Sumlin drove the program into the ground, and after going winless last year, many knew that Jedd Fisch was going to have a long rebuild ahead of him. I don't think many people thought it would be this bad though, as they did lose to BYU in week 1, which was close, and BYU is ranked now, but this past weekend they looked really bad. Arizona only had 230 total yards. In comparison, San Diego State had 454. This was a pathetic game for the Wildcats. They really don't have a whole lot going on in any position group, and Jedd Fisch has a long rebuild in front of him. Our final winner from week 2 is great. It's Stetson Bennett. While a lot of Georgia fans seem to hate Stetson Bennett, he is one of the best stories ever. He was a tiny, skinny quarterback from Georgia, became a leader in the locker room and during practice, and after being a walk-on and a junior college player, earned a scholarship from Kirby Smart. He decided to come back, and after 3 dominoes fell before him, he was the starting quarterback for a couple games for Georgia last year. While he was never supposed to be anything special, he did not get as much credit as he deserved. He proved himself this past weekend, as against UAB, he went 10 of 12 for 288 yards and 5 touchdowns. In what will be his final year, Bennett had an incredible 5-touchdown game, proved that all his hard work is going to pay off, and that the struggles from last year were not going to define his career. Our final loser of week 2 is the Missouri Tigers. As you guys know, I'm a die-hard Mizzou fan, and for all the people who thought that we'd win 8 to 10 games, I thought you were pretty crazy. This was a team that, in my eyes, would peak at 8 wins and probably get between 6 and 7. There's so much youth on this roster, and while Elijah Drinkwitz is a great coach and recruiting really well, to say he was going to make that kind of jump in year 2 was pretty absurd. They had a chance, though, to compete in the SEC East, and they had to win this game against Kentucky on the road. It was a hostile environment, and Kentucky is just a little bit better than this team, and they dominated Mizzou. There was a couple lucky bounces that went the Tigers' way to keep them in the game, and they blocked a late field goal to give themselves a chance to win or tie, but they did not deserve to win this game, and they apparently have the worst rushing defense in all of Power 5. They've got to figure that out soon. They need to figure out how to throw the ball downfield, and they need to give the ball to someone other than Tyler Beatty before he gets hurt. So yeah, that was today's video. We went through 10 winners and 10 losers from week 2 of college football, and I'm going to do this every single weekend, so be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section, what I got right and wrong, what I missed, and what topic I should do next. Before you go, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, check out my week 1 video, and all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.